Spread Great Ideas is meant to increase the signal in a world awash in noise. I'm your curator and host, Brian David Crane, and it is my quest to share the learnings of the world's most interesting people, the disruptors, the outliers, the libertines, and those who've been unconventionally successful so that we can become a little bit wiser together. All right, so I'm sitting here with Juodka, Lithuanian American expat now in Bali with me, and we're going to be talking about biohacking, about routines, daily routines, morning routines, and evening routines. And I just want to kind of give some context. AJ is 6'7", 240 pounds, very big, very imposing figure, very fit. We met earlier this year at a conference here in Bali. And when I talked with him, his personality is not necessarily what you would imagine from seeing him. He's much more of a gentle giant, which is a testament actually to probably how powerful it is, that he doesn't need to convey it with his words and his actions. He just kind of carries it as his presence. So happy to be here. And AJ, I just want you to actually pronounce your name for people in Lithuanian.
So first of all, thanks for that. It's funny, I've been debating that the physical presence for last couple of weeks. It's come up pretty often as how people get initially intimidated, and once we actually start talking and carrying the conversation, changes a bit. So my name is Aurimas Juodka, and I just go by AJ because it is hard to pronounce.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely, what has been the transition as far as the past couple weeks with your physical presence? People have said to you, I was really scared when you first walked in the room. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. The intimidation component in the beginning, and then it's just not me. I remember when I was boxing competitively, my coach would make me step over the top rope into the ring, so to intimidate people and keep us. I could barely keep a straight face on because I think to myself, this is so stupid.
But it worked.
No, absolutely, yeah. The aggression and all of that, I never really carried it in me. So carry a lot of feminine energy, I guess.
Yeah,
and I don't deny it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you're sitting here. I'm wearing pastels. You're wearing pastels, right? It's not like you're not tatted up in the sense of like a thug.
Right. Yeah,
definitely. Like it's a balance between the two. So, yeah, I want to talk about this because I've seen a photo of you from in the past where you were always tall, but not necessarily so big, right? So that journey from when you were like, I'm tired of being thin, to where you got to now. How much weight you put on? How'd you do it?
So first of all, it wasn't just being thin. It was being sick all the time. That I struggled with all kinds of childhood diseases. So I was constantly sick. I was constantly on antibiotics. I was constantly away from school and just in a hospital. And something was always wrong with me. So that was one of the things that I struggled a lot as a child, and as a tall, lanky kid who's just always sick. That's what I was known for in my family. I had like allergic asthma attacks and stuff like that. And at one point, that kind of when I transitioned to my adulthood, that really carried over with me. And then I realized that I have to do something about it, and started obsessively researching what can I do. And the first thing that I found was fitness. So when I moved to the States, and I was introduced to weightlifting at the age of around 20, I think it was. And in about half a year, I was able to put on over 50 pounds of muscle. Doing that through what I discovered was fasting was one of those modalities that it kind of sounds counterintuitive, but the growth hormone peaks when after like a 24-hour fast, and then I would crush a workout, heavy workout, and then refeed like crazy, and do that like 2 times a week, and also eat a lot when I was weightlifting and then trying to put on weight. So would eat a lot throughout the week, and then those 2 24-hour fasts with massive refeeds after the workout.
So you would basically you would wake up, let's say it was a Wednesday, you wake up Wednesday, you fast the entire day, and then Thursday, first thing in the morning, you go work out and have a huge, essentially protein-laden meal afterwards, right? And you do that twice a week. And then the other days, you know, whether it's a Friday or one of the days when you're not fasting, how many calories were you taking in?
I have no idea. I never tracked calories. That was one of the things. Now, even when I work with my clients, is just when they ask me about meal preps, meal plans, calorie counting, I shut that out immediately because I know how unsustainable it is, and it's just it's so against what I believe in, which is a holistic approach to wellness and fitness and everything and our lifestyles. So that, you know, calorie counting, weighing your food, all of that just leads to obsession. And again, now, like if I'm collecting data, if I'm interested in measuring something exactly, sure, for temporarily, great. Like when I do extended fasts these days, I engage in 5-day fasting mimicking protocol 3 times a year. So I just did my 3rd one like a month ago.
And that's a full fast. You're not eating like 1 avocado a day or...
So that was like fasting mimicking. So let's say my caloric intake on more active days would be approximately 4,000-ish calories. On those days I would eat, so for 5 days I would eat 1,000. First day is like 1,000, second, third, fourth, fifth, it's like 700 calories that you consume, and purely from plant-based products, and super low in protein, so you're keeping the protein intake under 20 grams, and the reason for that is to suppress that mTOR, that anabolic pathway that essentially is aging us if it's always on, if it's always turned on. Yeah.
And so to go back in the story, were you then doing this fasting, this 24-hour fasting, followed by a massive feed while you were at the Coast Guard Academy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a friend of mine who went into the Marine Corps, didn't, I don't think, do the fasting, but he wound up putting on so much weight in the Marine Corps because it was a similar dynamic, early 20s, and there was food available, and they were also working him out.
Yep.
And he got, I think he didn't do 50 pounds, but he probably put on 25 pounds of muscle and came back and was just cut. Yeah. So when you're at the Coast Guard Academy and you're going through this, was this due to your own, you were like, okay, I just want to get bigger, or was it something the Coast Guard was essentially saying to you, like, you need to do it for our purposes, right? I don't know if they have a physical component too. Yeah, when you're at the academy.
There's some sort of physical component, but it wasn't that. It was just simply, like, how do I get better? How do I actually transform my body and transform something that I never had before, and that it being health. I thought that fitness was directly related to health, and we all know that that's just a small component of the healthy lifestyle. But that was my outlet, and I realized that in order to run away from those sicknesses and what carried over into my adult life from my childhood, that was one of the things that I did, and that led into me understanding that was not the most not the smartest way to approach it, because I looked good on the outside, but I felt like crap on the inside, since the food choices, the nutritional choices that I was making were pretty poor. So,
and then did you also, was that also the point when you had people start coming to you and being like, can you coach me? Can you tell me what to do? And so I can imagine that you're in a position where you want to tell them something, but at the same time, you know that internally you don't feel great about it. So you're telling them, hey, I don't know what you were eating at that point, but how did that dynamic play out?
So at that point, it was just them asking, how do I put on more muscle? We're in college, we're in our early 20s, and that's what you care about at that point. And then I knew how to put on muscle. And then when I realized that the external, the way you look does not necessarily mirror the way you feel, that's when I started getting more into nutrition and strategies to eat better, to actually feel better, because I had a lot of brain fog and low energy. And as I said, I looked good, but I felt like crap. I was borderline insomniac and had a lot of trouble sleeping, and couldn't get through the day without some sort of a stimulant.
Coffee or not talking cocaine.
No, not cocaine. Yeah. Coffee. Cocaine and the Coast Guard Academy, that would have been a bit iffy.
Dicey. Yeah. And then your transition out of the Coast Guard Academy, when you and I had met, you told me a pretty interesting story of how you wound up staying in the States. You moved down to Florida, right? Mm-hmm. How did that work? You were, I don't remember. I just remember thinking it was an interesting hero's journey. Yeah.
So that was essentially, I realized that I did not want to be a part of the military, and that was nothing that I stood for, and just the path that it would have taken me, I didn't resonate with it. So I found a way to give back in different ways, which was working as developing my nutrition coaching practice.
Okay.
So that was the first step towards the journey that I embarked upon.
Okay. Yeah. And then you're in Florida for how long? A couple years?
Yeah, around that.
Okay. And then what makes you leave the States?
Simply a soul-sucking environment. That's what I described it as. And just wanted to change the environment completely, and ended up moving to Thailand at that point. And I actually found and the visa situation was tough in the States. That was another reason. And I found a job so I applied for jobs in China, Korea, and Thailand. I was interested in teaching kids, and I was like, that would be a great career shift, and just doing something completely different for a year, and just living a completely different life that I'm used to living. And did that for a year in Thailand. I was in this industrial city. I was teaching middle school girls math for a year, and while I had my nutrition coaching practice on the side, via an online medium, so I kept that. But
cool change up.
Something exactly completely different, and loved the experience. And slowly but surely gravitated towards Bangkok. There, I started my brick and mortar, and
you opened a gym, right?
Yeah. And that's something that really didn't, as I said, I just wanted the idea of it was cool, and I thought that would be something great to do. But then more and more I realized that that's not what I stand for. That fitness, again, is a single dimension from all the pillars that I advocate for when it comes to healthy living and healthy lifestyle in general. And I simply realized that I was not, to be honest with you, I was not willing to put in the work to shift the mentality and the mindset surrounding the fitness industry, and that being very superficial and single dimensional. And it would have taken me a whole career to change it, and I stepped away from it and developed something that is actually all encompassing. So
I want to dig in a bit on Thailand, because I have this image, and the times I've been to Bangkok, it tends to draw. It just has like a crazy party atmosphere to it, right? I don't know if everyone's there partying, but from my experience, it's got kind of two dynamics. You got one dynamic, which is you have Westerners who want to live really cheap, and then you have another dynamic, which is you have Westerners who basically want to party and go nuts. And so you're there, you've got this gym. Who are the people that are coming in? Is it primarily Thai? Is it Westerners? Who's there that's training in your gym?
So the area was primarily Thai. Okay. We had a few foreigners who were coming, but it was primarily Thai. And their understanding of fitness, health, and all that is 20, 30 years behind of what it is in the Western world. So,
but they're basically these are bodybuilders. These are guys doing like heavy. No, what?
So the gym was more of a functional training facility, and that's what I was advocating, and then trying to implement the nutrition side of things as well, which they didn't understand that it has any.
They're like, I just want to get ripped. That's
exactly.
Okay. So then, So then, when you leave Bangkok, you sell the gym or you shut it down, yeah. And then, why'd you come to Bali? Like, why was that the next?
I have, to be honest, it's been my getaway. Bali has been my getaway for the last couple of years, and every opportunity I would get, I would fly from Bangkok to Bali for a short
holiday.
Short getaway, short holiday. And
let me interrupt you just for a second, because it's interesting to me that Thailand as a destination for Westerners, they come from Europe, they come from the States, whatever, they go elsewhere in Thailand, and you would actually leave Thailand entirely and go to another, to me, it's like kind of trading one beach for another, right, in a way?
I don't know what it was with the pull, I guess, with the food scene. Yeah. One of the biggest things, I guess, because I've been living in Thailand for a while. I visited pretty much every single part of the country, and I was kind of tired of Thai food, and Bali was that, just haven for great food, great environment, great vibe, and it just really resonated with me. So I kept coming back, and this past July, I said, all right, I'll give it 2 months, feel it out, see how everything goes, and then if it goes well, I'm staying here. I'm just moving out of Bangkok and relocating to Bali. And within the first 2 weeks, I knew that, this is it.
The spot.
That's it. Yeah. And one of the reasons was because, Bangkok is, from my personal experience, was very shallow in terms of relationships. And the relationships and the connections that I have made within the first 2 weeks in Bali were deeper than the connections, not all of them, but most of the connections that I had made in Bangkok in 3 years.
And you mean connections with other Westerners or connections with the locals?
Yeah, with the Westerners.
Okay. Yeah.
Or with people in general. So, yeah.
And so now that you're here, a couple of the things when you and I talked that I thought were interesting, you're involved with a project down at the very southern end of Bali in the Phuket called Yogi Lab. Yeah. And then you're doing a couple other things, both online and offline while you're here. So what are those?
So, that's a very exciting project that we're having. It's a high performance retreat. So it's a 7-day retreat where we're going to incorporate every single dimension, every single pillar necessary for optimal health and peak performance. And so that's a big project that we're working on, and I'm pumped.
And one thing I think cool there is they have a cryogenic chamber, right?
Yep.
Only one in Indonesia, or at least in Bali, because they're very expensive to build and maintain, So talk about that. What's inside of this 7 days? Is there one? Do you get to use the cryotherapy? Yeah. Okay. And what's the benefits of that?
So cryotherapy essentially gives you the hormetic stress, creates a hormetic response in your body, which is that stress that is beneficial for your body. That's the same stress that you get from exercise, for example. And from cold thermogenesis in general, it has so many different benefits as for skin health, for recovery, for reducing inflammation, of collagen production. All of that is a myriad of benefits, and it penetrates your skin when it's negative 110 degrees Celsius. It's for staying in there for 3 minutes. Also trains your vagus nerve, so getting into that parasympathetic nervous state. So you're actually overriding the sensation, the urge in your brain that is asking you to get the hell out of there. So that's one of the benefits. And again, the facility has other things like infrared sauna, cold hot plunges. Again, similar response. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So that oxygenates your body. And
which, for people who don't know what that is, essentially it's acting as if you're at the top of like Mount Everest, or it's like oxygen deprivation in a way.
That one is a bit different. So that one, there's the one that shifts your oxygen saturation.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different. This one kind of pressurizes your body from the outside. So if you get bends, for example, that's one of the treatments that they do. But again, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it's pretty popular now around the world in terms of the health benefits and neurogenesis, neuroplasticity for again a lot of things are beneficial.
Are you going there and doing this on a regular basis?
Yeah, I spend that's my productivity chamber, I call it. As I want to go in it, I just lay down and then get some stuff done on my computer, and I'm very productive. And another thing, flotation tanks. So complete sensory deprivation, and the water is ozonated. So that's just, again, it's like a little sanctuary down there on the cliffside. And in those 7 days, again, of all this fancy stuff, so we got into the weeds of biohacking, and I absolutely love, again, I'm very fascinated about stem cells, I have a lot of self-quantification devices and all that. But
as you're sitting here right now, you've got a continuous blood glucose monitor taped to your arm, yeah?
Exactly, yeah.
As an example, yeah. So you're basically monitoring how your body's responding to sugar.
Yeah,
24/7.
different foods in general.
Okay.
So, for example, I tested. So, my girlfriend has a health food brand, and she makes these plant-based Snickers bars sweetened with dates. And I tested that against a regular Snickers bar to just test my blood sugar response to it. And it was crazy to see the difference that it made. The blood sugar response, I had a massive spike from a regular conventional Snickers candy bar, and then no blood sugar response at all from
the plant-based one with dates.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that beneficial to keep the blood sugar response from spiking, to not have that happen? What's the benefit to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are a couple of things with that. So one of the layers of it, the more overarching one, long term, is that the more blood sugar fluctuations you have, the more spikes you have. That has a correlation to reduced longevity. So you want to keep your blood sugar as leveled as possible throughout the day. That's why people in the anti-aging community are taking metformin for that exact reason. Another layer to that is simply because of the feeling that you get on a day-to-day basis. So if you have
spike drop,
exactly, if you have that conventional healthy quote-unquote breakfast that people of granola in the morning or cereal or something like that, something sugar, or even overnight oats, that spikes your blood sugar like nothing else. And then you can see it, you can visibly see it. I'm actually gonna put out some data once I finish this, because I've been logging things, what I was eating and how my blood sugar responds to those tests, and show people how conventional beliefs, the way that my blood sugar responds to those, and then if I'm doing something
new, different, unconventional,
right, like a higher fat whole meals in the morning, and then not having like a rich carbohydrate rich meals in the morning, and seeing the energy levels completely shift and blood sugar response be way more leveled.
Because you had told me, what do you normally eat in the morning, and what do you recommend people eat in the morning? Because I remember you telling me this, and I thought it was steak. What do you normally eat in the morning? Not steak. What is it? Yeah.
I usually get something fatty.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So sometimes I would have like a high fat coconut yogurt with coconut flakes and nuts and seeds. If I feel like
but not sweetened. The seed.
Right, exactly.
It's not granola.
No, not at all. So just like
and no fruit.
Fatty seeds and no fruit. No, because I have seen how my blood sugar responds to that in the morning. If I have a smoothie bowl, I'm gonna be my day's lost. Like by noon, I'm gonna by noon I'm gonna be a zombie, and then I'm gonna have cravings throughout the day. I know that. So for example, I had one meal today at around 10-ish a.m. What time is it? About 2 maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not hungry at all because what I had this morning was a couple of eggs, a whole avocado. I had had some stir-fried vegetables in like a grass-fed butter. Had a cup of cacao. So I make cacao,
like raw cacao,
with,
where it's boiled and
cacao with coconut milk with some butter and coffee. So it's like this mixture, and and that's pretty much it. And I feel fantastic. I don't feel like I need to eat multiple times a day. And as I said, if I did eat a smoothie bowl, I would be peckish, just trying to grab a bite and constantly be looking for food and something to snack on, because it triggers that response, those cravings, to keep the blood sugar levels.
And one of the things with blood sugar that, to be somewhat of a tangent, is you probably don't drink alcohol, do you?
I do. Yeah.
How does that affect your blood sugar?
That's a good question, actually. I haven't measured yet. Okay. So yeah, that's something that it's in the books. But the thing is with alcohol is the first, like, a primary fuel for our body. Okay. So it's if you, let's say you eat whatever, the first thing that is going to be consumed is going to be ethanol from alcohol for energy. Okay. And everything else is going to, then it goes carbs and then it goes fats. So and that's your body's, that's how your body prioritizes it, essentially. So it's gonna, let's say you're drinking alcohol and
you add a meal, you have a pizza and a glass of red wine.
Yeah. So the energy is gonna come from alcohol, and the carbohydrates that you're consuming are most likely gonna get stored. Because your body's not processing. So if you're drinking, for example, that's why, happy hour around 5 to 7 p.m. That's actually a great time to have a drink, because it's before dinner. It's not with a meal, and you
can burn through it.
Exactly, precisely. Yeah, that's it. So if I do drink alcohol, I go for something pure. Let's say gin and soda water. Or
tequila,
I'm not a fan of tequila, honestly, but I like wines. But I'm very picky with them. Obviously, biodynamic, organic. I get fancy with it because I know the sugar content and the yeast and the GMOs. Organic wines in the States can still have 70+ additives.
Okay.
So that's
crazy. And still qualify as organic?
Fine. Exactly. And still qualify as organic. In Europe, it's a bit less. It's about 50-ish. And biodynamic ones are literally the ones that they're exposed to no chemicals. People literally cycle around those grapes. It's made with wild non-GMO yeast, super low in sugar. You can have a bottle and then have no hangover the next day. They're fantastic. Yeah.
Interesting.
So if I do choose to drink, that's my go-to.
And you find this stuff in Bali?
Not yet. I usually bring it in.
Yeah. Okay. So as you're talking about the continuous blood glucose monitor in your arm, last time you and I spoke, you're wearing an Oura ring. I want to know a little bit more about that, and some of the other. You and I are both fans of treadmill desks. You actually travel with one, which I thought was fascinating. So talk about some of the stuff that you find the most useful, let's say. Yeah, the things that have the biggest impact.
So the way I approach health in general and the low-hanging fruit. So I was going on a tangent beforehand that I love stem cells. I'm fascinated by all this anti-aging research. But before you do anything, all the fancy things, you have to take care of the fundamentals first. So before you take care of anything and do any of this cryotherapy, red light, like infrared exposure, whatever, all this fancy stuff comes second.
Earthing. Yeah,
precisely. Sensible sun exposure. Actually living with a circadian rhythm, or living with nature, and not eating, for example, after sunset. Those are massive. So I break them down into 6 pillars, which is sleep, stress management, nutrition, movement, environment, and your mindset. So 6 things, 6 pillars. That's what ultimate health is surrounded by, and that's that big umbrella of health, essentially. So the biggest thing is, as I said, I do quantify my sleep because I was borderline insomniac and really had a hard time sleeping. And I used to sleep for 8.5 hours or over 8 hours and then wake up and feel like a zombie. And I wouldn't understand why. And the reason behind it was because I was eating way too late. So my digestive system my body was focusing on digesting the food that I ingested rather than creating the hormones necessary for sleep. So that's one of the biggest things, is not eating within at least 3 hours before bed.
And the general rule is not to eat after the sun goes down.
Right.
That's the best.
Perfectly. In a perfect world, that'd be great.
Be tough for Northern Europeans in the wintertime because the sun's going down 3:34 in the afternoon. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I try to have dinner by 5:30, 6 the latest. So then, because I know that if I eat after 7, yesterday I ate a bit late. I went out with some friends just to have dinner out and finished eating around 8. And already I took a massive hit on my sleep.
And you can see that with the Oura ring, and you see it the next morning when you wake up.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. And
let me ask you a question with that. So, for instance, let's say you eat at 8. What about if you just stay up later until 11 or 12 to basically give yourself enough time to digest and then sleep in later?
So that's not ideal for me as well, because my REM and deep sleep patterns happen in a certain window. So there's a pattern that I've identified. If I skip that window of going to bed or waking up at a certain time, it's gonna
you can't get it back.
balance.
You basically can't move that window, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Most of the time it doesn't work that way.
Interesting.
Sometimes if I don't sleep enough, then I try to offset with meditation. So I do practice transcendental meditation, and that I go into an hour of meditation while traveling or something along those lines, and that helps me with my sleep and the way I feel.
Yeah, when you and I had talked previously, you had mentioned that you have this device that you put into your nose.
It's called Light. Yeah.
VI or BI?
VIE light.
Light. Okay.
And it's essentially photobiomodulation, which is red light therapy. And our blood has this property of carrying light, of transferring light throughout the body. And the reason it's in your nose because the capillary density is the highest.
And your ears, right?
And your ears, yeah. Or ears, not so much as, I guess nose is the best orifice to...
it's ground zero.
Yeah, exactly. And so different wavelengths of light had act different ways on your body. So for example, like I have 810 nanometers, so that one targets your brain activity, and then there's another one 633 that targets your body activity. So essentially what it does is it recharges your mitochondria, which are energy currency of the body, the cells, the thing that produces energy in the cell, and those wavelengths trigger the higher response of energy production. So I do that twice a day. It's like I said, 25-minute session. Yeah. So in the morning while I'm meditating, I kind of combine earthing, meditation, binaural beats for me to get into a deeper meditative state, and then I have that red light therapy in the morning.
I'm picturing you sitting somewhere on the earth, big headphones, contraption in your nose, deep in meditation.
That's it.
And
that's it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I would love to see a photo of it. And then, so at night, what are you then doing when you're winding down? Because some of the things you talked about, again, blue light, you're blocking and some of the things there, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So blue light blocking to trigger that melatonin production. So if you're exposed to blue artificial light during the day, it's great, especially from the sun. Natural blue light, it spikes up cortisol, and you need certain levels of cortisol to get through your day.
Okay.
When you're winding down, you don't want to expose yourself to artificial light because again, it spikes cortisol, which is antagonist to
sleeping.
Melatonin. Yeah.
Well, it's effectively your fight or flight module, right? It's basically saying like, yeah, be on guard, be aware. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. And so I block any blue light when the sun sets. So I put on my blue light blocking glasses once the sun sets, and I have a bedtime alarm which goes off. It's like your sleep starts when you wake up. I like that phrase. So first of all, I always get sun exposure first thing in the morning. So while I'm meditating, I'm sitting outside and soaking up some rays.
How were you doing this in Bangkok? Or were you
rooftop?
Okay.
Yeah, I would go on a rooftop. yeah. So that was that. I just couldn't get grounded, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have a bedtime alarm, and then I go through my evening routine, take my bedtime supplements, which are I take reishi, chaga, lion's mane mushrooms. That depends. That varies. 5-HTP. I'm a huge fan of that, and GABA, and zinc. And topical magnesium, though that's my pre-sleep stack that I take. And then I lay down on my acupressure mat, which overwhelms my central nervous system and completely relaxes me. It's painful for like 30 seconds. Best investment. Every single client of mine has it.
It's basically a long mat with needles.
Like spikes, not really needles.
Okay.
Yeah, like spikes. And it's, as I said, for first 30 seconds or so, it's a bit unpleasant, but then your body adjusts to it, and then you feel the most relaxed you ever feel. And then whatever else, again, that's my bedtime routine, but everybody can craft their own. Take a hot bath, have a cup of tea, what have you. Just something, whatever winds you down. Read a book, what have you. So whatever winds you down, that's
it's a habit that essentially says to your body, it's time to go to sleep now. It's time to prepare for this. Yeah.
For sure. So that, we got sleep covered. Stress management, as I said, meditation, different forms work for different people. I'm a huge fan of breath work. So I just led a breath work meditation session this morning. And so breath work is a great modality for stress management, dealing with trauma, or releasing whatever you need to release. Also, I incorporate that while driving. So like a 4-7-8 breath, 4 count in, 7 count hold, 8 count out, just to get into like a more parasympathetic state when you're driving fast, and you're especially here in Bali, it can be stressful. So that's how I relax myself.
Are you have some sort of timer? You have headphones with a timer going off so that you remember to actually stick with this?
I just count. Count.
And you get it. Huh.
Yeah. So that's I do it like for 5 minutes, and it puts me into that parasympathetic state, and I feel great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it prevents me from being too stressed out after, or sometimes you get, especially riding around here, it is very sensory activating. So
a lot going on, a lot coming at you.
That helps me stay grounded. Yeah, because I used to be just shaky after those rides, and now it's just easy.
One of the things with stress management that's helped me a lot is turning down notifications, turning down the ways that people can get in contact with me, and kind of limiting both the time in which I'll look at the phone, and then also what the phone can tell me, right? So I don't know if you've done something similar.
No, I have no notifications. The only ones that it's WhatsApp. Yeah, that's the only one, and then most of the time my phone is in the airplane mode. So that's right. That's just. Also, when I put it in my pocket, it's always in the airplane mode. Because I've seen a lot of compelling research that they measured hip bone density on the side that you were carrying your phone. And it was freaky. I think it was a pretty significant difference between the hip bone density, and that's scary. Like that's radiation at its finest. So
and your phone is in RFID blocking case, And you also had told me about the headphones, tubular headphones.
Air tube
headphones.
So those block, essentially they have a metal, because sound travels either through electrical impulse or through air.
Okay.
So if it travels through air. It has so for air tube, it has this metal block. First of all, it goes through a wire, and then that it blocks that electrical impulse, and then transfers that as far as I'm not an electrician, but as far as I understand it, it just transfers that electrical impulse into the sound, and it goes through that tube and then into your ears. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember asking you. You did not like AirPods, anything with Bluetooth.
Yeah, and
I
do limit my Bluetooth exposure for sure. I mean, Bluetooth is less dangerous than Wi-Fi, than the phone signal. That's for sure. But I still limit it as much as I can.
At your place in Bali, do you actually shut off the Wi-Fi? You have it on.
At night,
do you?
Yeah. Yep. And I have a red light bulb installed in my bedroom, so that's another thing for sleep. I did actually, in Bangkok especially, I would feel a massive difference, or notice a massive difference between my sleep patterns. I measured for 3 days. I remember it was like 3 days with Wi-Fi, 3 days without Wi-Fi, and the average difference, I did pretty much the same, like as not being in a strict study, as same as it can get. N equals 1 test. It was the difference in deep sleep was about 15 minutes with Wi-Fi and without Wi-Fi. So without Wi-Fi, I had more deep sleep than with Wi-Fi turned on. So that's pretty significant, I would say.
And have you noticed, this is kind of the last question because we don't have much time, but have you noticed a difference in your sleep between Bangkok and Bali? All things
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Everything else being different, right? Going from a big city to, I assume you're living kind of somewhere quiet and with rice paddies. Yeah,
by all means, man. And I definitely, I'm convinced that is the vibration, the electrical currencies and electrical exposure that you get, and your biology is bombarded from
in a big city.
Yeah, every angle in a big city. Whereas here, you get grounded. Your body's actually at more of a negative charge. You get more negative ions, exposed to more negative ions out here. So absolutely, massive difference.
Yeah, I have often told people that I think, particularly up here in Ubud, there's just, because of the lack of light pollution, that it's very easy to go to bed early, to be in bed by 9:30. Things close down. There's not a lot of light. And as opposed to somewhere like Bangkok where there's just a ton of stimulus coming at you.
Right.
I find when I get here, it's very easy to be like, cool, going to bed at 9:30, waking up at 5:30. Like no need to force myself to do it. Right. Yeah. And that my sleep has gotten a lot better. So, all right. I think we're pushing up on your time limit here. So, AJ, where can people find out more about you online and follow what you're doing and get in contact with you if they want to do some coaching and learn more about you?
So the project that we're working on, and it's going to be one or two more after our first one, is thehighperformanceretreat.com. On Instagram.
So it's the High Performance Retreat.
The High Performance Retreat, yeah, .com. On Instagram, Well with AJ, or thrivingwellness.co. We're running with a partner of mine who is a functional medicine practitioner. We're running a functional medicine and health and performance coaching practice. So that, again, encompasses every single aspect of a human's body and to peak performance, health. And I like taking people from good to great. Ryan likes taking people who are really struggling and bringing them to baseline. So we have that. We'll have
it's both. Like a 1-2 punch covered. Depends on where the person's coming in at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hang on. Cool. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Pleasure.